I mean, it's... I want to be here.
Even 35, not bad.
Somebody said that, Baba.
But it's risky.
Yeah. Okay, let me take a look at the front page of the local dailies. Chirchir and Kagwe top list for interior docket. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper. Chirchir and Kagwe top list for interior docket. Hiring presents head of state with dilemma as more communities express interest. Now that is, this actually is now Musalia Mudavadi who is holding that position on an interim basis. The president's move appears to be a strategic attempt to pacify the restless Mount Kenya region. And we have got 4 gentlemen here. Musalia Mudavadi, who is the cabinet's chief Prime Cabinet Secretary, I beg your pardon, Transport CS, Davis Chirchir, ex-Health CS, Mutahi Kagwe, and Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah. Their names have been floated here. And remember, that position of PSS have also been advertised. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Who said syllabus is moving so fast?
Yeah, the syllabus is, the political syllabus is...
Yeah. We need to ask Secretary and the engineer apply.
I mean...
When is it expiring? I need to apply that.
4th.
On 4th?
Yes.
Okay.
When is it?
Let me look for my chapter 6 tomorrow. Tomorrow is on 3rd.
It will be 3rd, yes.
Yeah. So if it's on 4th, I'm going to apply.
You need to apply. We don't have people from
It's on the advert. I thought so.
Yeah, there was it was a gazette notice.
Yeah.
It was in all the newspapers.
Okay, in those listed there, is there anybody from Kisii?
No list yet.
There's no list. They're still applying.
The deadline is on 4th. So
no, on those for the CS interior.
No.
Do we have anybody from that region?
We have Mutahi Kagwe, Kimani Ichung'wah, Davis Chirchir, and Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. So you can apply for the position of the PSS.
You can also go for that. We've never had anybody from Kisii fill that docket.
Yeah, we've had Matiang'i.
Oh, yeah, of course. Recently, yes.
Matiang'i was a CS. PS.
No, there's a, you've talked about CS.
The PSS position, which was advertised.
Oh, the PS, not CS.
Yes,
oh.
CS. But that position of the CS is also still vacant.
Yeah, because of the deputy president.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Chirchir and Kagwe, top list for the interior docket.
That docket.
We have 2 vacancies of CSs, gender and
exactly.
And interior.
Yeah. You can apply for that.
Let me choose one. I think gender will do. And meanwhile,
but the CSs are not advertised. It's the PSs that are.
Oh, yeah, that is
the CS is an appointee of the president.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so you need to lobby
you need to lobby
House.
with your people in Kisii.
Oh, you first apply and then they lobby.
So what do you make of this? Let me start with you, Engineer. Chirchir and Kagwe top list for interior docket. And apparently, it appears this is a strategic move to attempt to pacify the restless Mount Kenya. So when you have got Chirchir and Kagwe, how is this going to pacify the restless Mount Kenya region?
Well, Chirchir would be the natural choice because, you know, this is a seat where you want somebody you can trust. It is a seat where the security of the nation is restored by that person in that office. Yeah. And therefore, you don't want a person who you cannot trust, somebody who can use that office to undermine your authority, somebody in the event there are any attempts to break law and order, will be able to do whatever it takes to make sure that the country is safe. So I believe Chirchir makes the natural choice. But then also the president has shown that he's trying to bring the nation together. So I don't know if Kagwe nominated is bringing the nation together. So those 2 choices are political choices. In terms of trying to win the mountain, and the other side, having somebody he can be able to trust and govern this country without any fear. For Kagwe, if he was to be nominated, it would to some extent show probably Raila's influence through Azimio and Uhuru Kenyatta might be part of that arrangement. But we are yet to see. Kagwe was mentioned as DP the other time. Now he's being mentioned as Interior CS. Probably there are some discussions that are going on. For that name to be mentioned twice in the last 2 months, it suggests that something serious is happening towards nominating Kagwe or bringing Kagwe into the civil into the government of
when you have Kimani Ichung'wah is the majority leader in the National Assembly, do you think he would actually leave that position to go for Interior CS? I mean, that position is also quite pivotal for the Mount Kenya region. Wakili?
Honestly, I think it's not a decision to make. I mean, there has been also talk in town that that seat is supposed to go to ODM. So in the event that is the case, they need to appease him with something else. So that is the reason I think why they will want to mention him in that particular circle. Whether he will be comfortable and whether he will be able to serve competently, I think he has the ear of the president, so the president wouldn't need to doubt whether he will perform to his interest, but whether he will be able to serve Kenyans to the level which we expect, we will need to give him the seat first to be able to know. Essentially, to also loop in the other two you've talked about.
That is Kagwe and
Chirchir.
Yeah.
Chirchir, I would want to agree with the engineer that it could be the natural choice, but as to, you see, that seat, from what I look at, is it needs somebody who is very agile. Chirchir is a bit reserved, and his movements are quite in a bit of a slow pace. That thing, you know, if something gets up, you need to wake up in Turkana, then finish in Lamu in a day's work. So I don't know whether, from what I see, I've not seen him whether he likes moving around the country that fast. So whether he will change with the seat, even with the transport seat, I mean, rarely do he, and that is a camera shy person. I will want to say that because I rarely addresses the media, as opposed to, I mean, Kindiki.
Are you trying to make a comparison?
Yes, I'm trying to draw a comparison and also try to create competencies and of course, challenges which we might face. Of course, Kagwe would be good for giving statements. You know, that's a very volatile seat. But as to whether he will serve competently, the jury is still out. We saw him in the health. He was good at giving a peace. Kenyans are telling them, you know, we are sure we are good. So, but for a person to execute the mission competently, I think Chirchir stands out.
If you don't get it, all right, let's take a break. I'll come back to you, Dr. Give me your opinion. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us. All right, karibu sana. So I also have my cup of tea. Actually, it's coffee, so we are good to go. All right, Dr. We talked about this one, and just trying to analyze the four gentlemen here. Give me a quick analysis.
According to me, you know, the docket of Interior, apparently it's the one that almost runs a country, the security of a country. That there's so much, our government operations and other functions. So the person who has to be appointed to that seat has to be somebody who the president did not start trusting yesterday. It has to have historical trust, that and that person has to look like I'm not saying the other people are not reliable, but he fully has to trust this person because it's a very sensitive seat. You know, it deals with everybody's else security, including himself. So even if Mount Kenya is restless, as it's being referred to, I don't think the seat should go to anybody in Mount Kenya. But Chirchir will be well suited because I think they have a long history with the president. And plus, you know, this seat, I don't know, other than Dr. Matiang'i, the rest who have been on those seats, they are dying under mysterious circumstances. And it elicits a lot of, you know, questions like what really happens on this seat. But that's my contribution. I don't think anybody else suits there. About Kagwe, he did very well. He did, according to me, he did very well in the health docket. Maybe if it's going to go through Baba for him to be rewarded, maybe another position, but not Interior. Yeah. Okay. I don't think you can just wake up and give somebody such a strong. It's like, you know, you remember Dr. Matiang'i was almost like running this country.
Exactly.
I think you remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
And he would make decisions
so much on behalf of the president.
And he would make the president actually make decisions based on what his analysis is about security and other functions. So I don't think it's the interior docket is any docket you can just reward. Yeah, and then or maybe you can start lobbying, this region wants this. No, other seats you can talk about regions complaining and wanting a share. Like now the Kisii region, the way we keep on complaining that we are not well represented in Dr. Williams Samoei's is cabinet, and but not the interior. I think that docket the president entirely has power to make a decision without being pushed or without any too much lobbying. Yeah.
Okay, so let's come back. I'll take you through the front page of other local dailies shortly. But as we come to the close of the year, there is something that I want us to take a look. Where is IBC?
Who told me they are reinstated?
Do you know that Banisa has not had any representation for 2 years now, constituency?
And don't have an MC as it stands.
And in other wards, several wards across the country. As per the law, Wakili, guide us here. And I throw this back to you. The moment the cabinet secretaries were nominated to the cabinet, let's start with Opiyo Wandayi. That seat ought to have fell vacant with immediate effect.
Yes.
It has not been declared vacant.
That's the speaker's undoing. He should have declared that immediately.
So let me just ask this question. So where are we as a nation in terms of the commission? And is the IBC, the way it is currently constituted, fit to be in that office fully to discharge? Because they say there are so many court cases still hindering, the running of that commission the way it's supposed to be, the picking of the commissioners, etc., etc. Allow me to ask you, start this for us. What now happens for a country where we are currently in case there is an emergency? I don't want to speak about it. I don't want to say which emergency. But where we are today, what would happen?
What I need to say is that we are in a constitutional crisis in regards to IBC, because we ought to have had those people in office already. Just to add on what you've said, we also have a situation whereby we need to review our boundaries.
Yes,
which has not been done. By now, we ought to have done that. We ought to have done that. Now we don't have an IBC which can competently do that job. As to whether the people in office can be able to serve, yes, we have seen them serve because we have a secretariat which is fully constituted. The only people we don't have are the commissioners. But the secretariats can be able to do some basic jobs, and we have seen them do that. So as to the issue of representation and of course, which is a very core mandate of IBC declaring people who are supposed to represent Kenyans in various quotas, we have sections like Banisa. My own MCA was thrown out and we don't have any, and another one died in the neighboring ward, and we don't have representation.
How long ago was that?
I think from when the appeals ended, my MC was already thrown out because the appeal was successful, and he's not been in office
or something.
So last year
we have not been represented, the people of Borabu ward.
23.
Okay.
So in Nyamira we have a crisis of 2 wards which are actually not represented in the county assembly, and we can see when development is lagging behind. Essentially, the governor should be able to come in, or the county assembly ought to have to allocate resources equivalent with the ones which are being given to the other, but we are not seeing that because we don't have somebody to fight for us or be able to speak. So that is dire in terms of governance, and that causes a lot of problems because these people do not get the equitable share which they are supposed to get, and they do not have somebody who can be able to speak and fight for their causes. So when we speak of IBC, so that is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It has been plagued by a lot of cases, and the cases now are changing hands. You have some cases look like they are sponsored. to not have IBC in place. So, and that is quite worrying. We need to have even the courts rise to the occasion and demand that these cases be finished quickly, and demand accountability from the people who have actually filed those cases. That the same way the election petitions are conducted in a very fast way, we need to see the cases in regards to IBC commissioners being in place also handled at that same pace, because that we are talking about bigger things.
Yes.
Representation. If we do not have a boundary demarcation for various places of the country, then that is a constitutional mandate which has been abrogated by us not having the IBC commissioners in office.
Engineer, I've given him that because of the legal background. But then now, let's come back and ask ourselves, in a situation where we are, the discussion that happened at the Bomas, Kalonzo Musyoka was there, Kimani Ichung'wah was there, there were certain proposals. And Kenyans thought like, oh, wait a minute, so we are going to have commissioners. You know, they have agreed, and now it was time for Kenyans to keep the ball rolling. But now, months on end, we've not had any communication. What you're hearing are the court cases. He's given a suggestion that why don't we have certain deadlines so that some of these cases are dispensed with pretty fast, and then some kind of these sensitive dockets are also constituted, and there should no vacuum. But the question is, that was a background. The question is, so what now happens? What's happening to us now as a country? We don't have IBC in place altogether.
And if you recall, at the height of the Gen Z's demonstrations, there was talk that the next frontier of this movement was to recall MPs. And to kickstart that mechanism would require a properly constituted IEBC. And therefore, I believe, and I want to agree with Wakili, there are forces beyond the judiciary, probably in the legislature or in government, who really don't want IEBC to be there now, because it is an inconvenience to them. Because if, for example, there was any attempt to recall any MP today, it would trigger a wave, especially, for example, in Mount Kenya region, where the ground is so hostile to members of parliament who voted yes for the impeachment of the deputy president. And such a recall would go through within a very short time. Secondly, if there was any successful recall of an MP today, it would trigger a by-election.
Yes.
And therefore, a party that would, say, for example, be constituted right now and is fashioned as a Mount Kenya party, would now be able to test one-on-one between Kenya Kwanza and itself. The way you saw in 2021 and 2022, 2021 and 2020, where UDA came in. There were just there were 3 by-elections in Nakuru, Nyandarua, and somewhere else, Kiamba, where they were able to really show their strength and influence within that region, and that translated to the successful election of William Ruto in 2022. So therefore, nobody would want to trigger this country into a by-election at this point. So they will do whatever it takes to delay the constitution of IEBC. We have had instances where even the chairman of IEBC or the commissions were brought in 6 months to the election. So therefore, they are saying it's not highly unlikely that even this time around we will get an IEBC in 2026. So Kenyans can wait. There is no pressure. They are saying Kenyans are more concerned today with economic issues, health issues, and those are the issues Kenya Kwanza is dealing with. These are the issue about IEBC. They can be managed later, because it will be an inconvenience to this administration. Yes.
Because according to Article 104, the recall clause actually 2 years is now over.
Yeah. Yes.
So most of these MPs, as you said, would, in case of anything. But Dr. You know, we are in a situation where, and the 2 gentlemen are raising some poking holes as to why that commission is not fully in office. But everything left constant, it should be there.
I want to agree with them that it's not that there are no people to be appointed to those seats, to those positions. I think it is strategically, this is where they are applying their strategic management skills. Because you can imagine the hostility from the Gen Z time about the finance bill. You know, there's that, there are those who voted yes. And now, and they battled Mount Kenya also. And then there are those who voted, who voted for the ouster of the deputy president, Reggie. So they will be on a revenge mission. The rest, if that commission can be balanced, there will be a revenge mission in the next 3 years. So we'll be handling by elections until we are not going to do anything in this country anymore. Yeah. So I think it is strategic, and one way or another it works for or against other people. But if you ask me, we are not in the right state to have a balanced IBC, though. You know, though there are those like Wakilia said about the word where it comes from. There are many more, I think, also. There are up to 8, I think, that are running without members of county assembly. And for Honorable Undanyi for not to step down, I think it's also strategic in the sense that it's going to be vacant. It's just going to be vacant. So I don't know how it's happening, whether he's working on 2 positions. So I don't know how that is working, but it's upon them to translate the constitution and what it allows to happen or not to happen. So all said and done, I think we have too much as a country. You know, you don't even know what to complain about, but yeah, you know, there's a way you are just so crowded with problems, and then all the problems, they look like they are major. You know, there's a way you prioritize. I have these problems, I want to prioritize this, but I think we need a lot of optimism, starting from the leadership and us as citizens, because if we crowd ourselves with our problems, it is going to mess up any other new injection of new energy, positive energy that can move us to the next level. Now, let's talk about, you know, the main docket that run our country is the Ministry of Education, and I'd like to recommend him, not because he comes from a region. I'd like to recommend CS Migos. Is trying to bring I think reinstate the sanity of the Ministry of Education. But you saw the dons from the dons have gone back to university, 3 months, and the stalemate in the Moi University is also been settled. I don't know how far it is with the bands, but I think slowly, you know, a step at a time, I think it's gaining a bit of quote-unquote sanity, and that's what we need. And I'm really pleading with the CS for health. You know, these are main things these are main dockets that are running a country that are shaky. So it makes us become a bit afraid in terms of, has the SHA shift, has it been solved? How are people getting their medication? Is there a flow? Look at the interns they have been doing. You know, others were committing suicide and because of non-payment. And now the interns are supposed to go back and work under an agreed terms, and then prevailing again, another strike of the doctors. I don't think we need that. We need, I think we need to pay attention to Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health. You know, we gain a bit of sanity because right now, many Kenyans, not only the physical illness, they have a lot of mental illness. You know, we people are under another, you know, we are under pressure. Sometimes we don't even understand our pressure. We need some kind of help as a country. So if we can start prioritizing and also the PSC, and also to also think about how do we, because okay, the Gen Zs were complaining and stuff, but what has been done about it? What is going to happen about, we should be thinking about, okay, the country is of course strained on the wage bill and other issues, but how can we make sure that our young people are getting jobs? How about reducing the retirement age? How about trying not to give any contracts to retirees? How about that? You know, the joblessness, the health, the education, I think this is what is going to run our country successfully if at all too much attention can be paid to those
Did you say reducing the retirement age?
Yeah, I talked of reducing the retirement age in the sense that we are going to create positions, because if you are to leave office through retirement, I think it is better for our younger people to get jobs. We will be solving a problem.
Terry, who wants to go home at the age of 55?
You see, this, let's talk about it like this, Victor. Now, this is somebody has left university.
But you think that's
somebody has left university, let's say at the age of 23, 24. That is the time they graduate. Or any other college, maybe the college, maybe diploma or certificate, has left job at her age of 22, 23. Let's talk of 25 below. Are you saying?
Yeah.
Somebody is in office. If this person gets a job, these are people who are getting into starting families. Are you saying? But somebody who is about 40, I'm not saying the retirement age reduced to 40, that will be a bit low, but 50, 55 can be a good retirement age to give these children space also to begin their families. Remember, by the time you are 50, you are handling grandchildren. And when somebody is looking for this job, is yet to marry, is yet to get married and be stable and be able to support his or her family. So if we say that we want the old people to also remain in office, so it means we are sacrificing a younger generation that is going to impact our economy. I'm not saying the old people have no impact. They do, but they are in a position in their families. Their children have finished school. Yeah, they have finished college,
the good thing
school.
Is that
yes.
Wakili doesn't have to retire. He's a lone ranger. I mean,
no, we are talking of mainstream.
I understand.
Yeah, the mainstream and even in the private sectors, we should have some laws protecting the employment of the young people.
Okay, let's come back to the discussion. There is this question of Banisa. And Wakili, allow me to ask you this question. So now what happens to Banisa? For 2 years now, they've not had any representation. Their cases from the constituency, different wards, are not presented to different assemblies, either in the county or National Assembly. So what happens in this case? Can somebody go to court and challenge the government? Who can vote a challenge?
Actually, they need to challenge the government, because now it's really the government which is letting them down. Because how do you even oversee the NGCDF? Because people expect to be represented, ensure that development happens to the ground and such things. So these people are missing out. Most probably the NGCDF board was removed from the control of the MPs, but the MPs are the people who are the patrons. And being the patrons, more or less, they actually don't perform the conservative patronage, which was supposed to be anticipated. They actually oversee the kitty as if it's running from their own pockets. So we expect, because one thing which we also need to look, the MP understands the ground better.
Yes.
You don't get people from Nairobi here to go and decide which ward needs its road to be murramed, because it will, of course, that will happen, but then the needs of the people, how you bring these needs to the people, because an MP has an office in the constituency where all these questions go, and then you can be able to decide and talk to the board to see how the monies are allocated. We have the board, which is at the national level, and then the constituency level one, which essentially now sits and collates all the needs of the people so that the allocation is given. So now it will need a lot of concerted effort between the Nairobi and the local board. And the local board, remember, is the one which was in the former regime.
Yes.
Because we have not had a new one, given that the MP should be able to oversee that process. So we have people who are serving for the second time, who maybe with the interest of the former government will want to continue the same way they were running. So the aspect of election has not actually been able to be realized by the people of Banisa or the constituencies or wards which are not well represented by members of parliament or MCAs, because elections are supposed to bring in new blood, supposed to remove the former biases.
Yes.
So the former biases are still with them. So that negates or takes away their right to representation or proper representation or renewal of leaders, because for them nothing has changed. Still the same way.
Okay.
If the board chairman of the NGCDF in the local ground did not like you, he wouldn't like you in the next office period. You won't. So you're likely not to get the scholarship or the funding which you
out of
needed.
Curiosity, now that some of these, I'm using Banisa as a classic example, because for 2 years now they've not had any representation because of IBC is not in place. But the question is now, how, whoever will be suing the government on what terms? That is number one. Two, they have not had a representation because the commission is not in office fully, actually, to run an election in that constituency. So what would happen to them in this case? You've talked about NGCDF, that is number one. Of course, the woman rep cannot, undertake the duties of a member of parliament.
Yeah.
A woman rep is for the entire county, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So that position does not belong to a woman rep.
Yes.
What will Banisa say in 2027 when they go for an election? Crispus, what do they say? Because they have been marginalized for 2 years.
Well, this country, it's not that we lack representation. When you go to an election at every 5 years, you elect 5 leaders. 6 leaders, actually.
And everybody has a job description.
Exactly.
It's a duplication.
And you have these 6 leaders represent you in the same way. They look for your health. They look for your education. They look for your security. Yeah. They look for your roads. They look for your gender issues. The presidency provides for everything in and below. So in terms of representation, it's not that the people of Banisa lack. Because in the National Assembly, there is a women rep there who represents the entire county, and Banisa is part of that county. So she has a responsibility as she's executing her mandate for women affairs or as a women rep within the constituency of Banisa. She's able to articulate the issues of the people of Banisa. She steps in very well if she is able to. The MCAs are also there. The senator is also there. There is a governor and there is a president himself. So in terms of representation, we don't lack. The injustice that is happening to the people of Banisa is in the area where that person they voted, they feel that this is a person we voted as the member of the National Assembly, is lacking. Okay? So if there are certain things that he was supposed to discharge in his own capacity as a MP, those are the things that he like. But in terms of when you go to CDF, it is run by a committee, and that committee is elected by the people. People present themselves, then they are told elect person. Then that committee chooses a chairman, a treasurer, a secretary general. In the MP's office, there is a management team, which I don't believe in Banisa it is here, because now when the MP passed away, definitely that
probably he had not even constituted his own team.
Then the board has a CDF manager who are changed every 2 years. Depending on their performance. So there are enough checks and balances in terms of how the CDF can run without the MPs influencing it. There is enough representation in terms of the people we elect. What we are just saying is that the question of IEBC is deeper than Banisa.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Banisa, because right now we have issues, for example, where you saw members of parliament giving a standing ovation to the president for cancelling the Adani deal, yet they had a responsibility to listen to what Kenyans said for many months, that this deal was not good, and say no to it. Yet they were here giving a standing ovation for a process they were supporting for many months. Those are the people now IEBC should be in place. We look at them and tell them, you are failing us. We need to recall you. Do
you think they were celebrating because it was cancelled, or because
there was a sense of relief because they were supporting?
Nobody was ready to speak.
There was a sense of relief because there is a bit of fear in this parliament. They are not able to discharge their independent role. And remember, IEBC is an independent commission. Therefore, you cannot sue the government. It's not their business to have it in place. You cannot sue judiciary. It's not their business. You cannot sue the parliament. It's not their business. It's an independent commission. So in our pursuit for independent commissions, there we are fallen victim.
I get you. So which means, I get your point that perhaps the absence of IEBC is something
strategic.
It is benefiting many people because a well-constituted IEBC is a thorn in the flesh. When IEBC was challenged in terms of constitution, when we had a chairman and 2 commissioners, it helped William Ruto to a great deal because there was now in a commission of 3 people who were able to stand firm until he was elected.
Let's take a break. I want to ask a question, and perhaps you can also ponder over this, that whether it's deliberate or not, how will it affect 2027? Because now that is even on the front page of the Daily Standard here. This is what's here, ODM in Ruto dilemma. That's all about 2027. I mean, the drumbeats are already here, whether ODM should be in government next year, 2027, or ODM to support President William Ruto in the next race. We'll be taking a look at that and much more when we come back after this. Stay with us. Today we are talking about where is IEBC. All right? All right, stay with us. All right, welcome back. So the question is, so what happens? So there is a lacuna. Daktari, of course the Constitution did not envisage a situation where, you know, in the absence of a member of parliament or representation of any constituency, then somebody can step in. There is a complete darkness in that provision.
You see, clearly what is happening in Banisa, and you see it's not even, you said some wards in his county also do not have members of county assembly. It's a wide picture, a clear picture to show you that there is a lot of duplication of functions. Because, you know, in that constituency, there's a governor. Like the way engineer said it, there's a governor. This governor gives bursaries across board. I think takes care of the, you know, will not come that this constituency does not have a member of parliament, so I am not going to come up with a nice hospital. I'm not going to equip the hospital. I'm not going to make sure the hospital has drugs and stuff. I think so. It means that we have a lot of duplication of functions that ends up working for us in absence of. You know, when an MCA can, like that member of parliament, it's 2 years.
Yes.
You see, you have not seen anything glaring from the people, like that there's something very bad that has happened. If it is bursaries, I'm sure they are busy receiving those bursaries. If it's the healthcare, they are receiving their services. So what is the main difference? Because, you know, right now, you see a president is in charge of a whole country.
Yeah.
Where a governor, a senator, a woman rep, member of parliament, MCA, it's still in charge of the same people. That's why there was that discussion about, let's say these funds, especially for education, being in a common kitty, or it goes straight to school. I think, because you are simply taking care of the same people 6 times. 6 times. So like Banisa is only missing one, which is so insignificant. Everything else is going on. Because, you know, the governor will not decide that this constituency does not have a member of parliament, or this ward does not have a member of county assembly, so hence they are not going to get facilities, hence they are not going to get the bursaries. No, it doesn't work like that. Yeah.
But then, Wakili, when you look at the independence of these constitutions, it now brings that question, because as you correctly said, if a voter had to sue somebody, who are they going to sue? Not the National Assembly, not the Speaker, not the President, not the Judiciary. But then now it also tests the independence of these constitutions. That what happens when these these commissions are not fully constituted? What is the level of the independence?
I think I would want to come in and be able to say that it does not mean that the constitution being independent actually means that they are fully independent, and once they don't have commissioners, then you don't have somebody to sue. there's always somebody to sue. There's always somebody to be responsible. There's always somebody where the buck stops. And that goes without saying that if you want to sue the government, you sue the Attorney General. So they can be able to sue the Attorney General for lack of representation. Then the Attorney General can be able to act for government. To act for government and answer those questions. In any case, if you sue any government body, you have to sue the Attorney General. The IBC itself has a secretariat which is fully alive and well, and they even have a legal officer who can be able to also come in and give in representation. They have independent, being an independent body, they have advocates. Every time we see them in court, they have well-trained, a team of well-equipped lawyers to represent them in terms of the election petitions. They can also be contracted to come in and appear for them. So there is somebody to sue. People of Panisa or anybody or any place in the country where representation is lacking, they can be able to follow that particular channel and be able to sue the ABC itself, because it's a corporate body. It can be able to represent itself, having been an independent body. You can sue the Attorney General for lack of representation at the National Assembly. And even the National Assembly itself has a panel of lawyers who we saw them being represented in the Rigati issue. So there's always somebody to sue. We don't lack people to sue in issues of constitution. Having said that, I would also want to weigh in on the aspect of representation. It's good my co-panelists are agreeing in concert that we are overrepresented. But then there's the aspect of distinct role. It's akin to a family, an extended family where we have a grandfather, father, mother, and all that, all our life. But then you lose your father. These people, however much they will want to come in and help, there's always somewhere you will be lacking. You don't have a father. And the father, what is the role of a father? He's the head of the family. So once he's missing, he's missing. Your uncle will not come in and replace him competently the way he used to. Your aunties or your grandfather cannot be able to stand into the exact boot levels which your father was representing. Even if they come in fully, then the aspect of emotional conscience also is missing, and that is what the people of Banisa should be crying for. That we have been denied our constitutional aspect of representation in Parliament. When the national cake is being decided, for example, if you want roads, it's the member of Parliament plays a critical role in terms of going to push for these roads, because that is your share. When you lack a specific road which is within the mandate, not all the roads, within the mandate, there are those which are within the mandate of the member of Parliament. The neighboring member of Parliament will not come and bargain for you. You need to go, it needs to be in Parliament and push for allocation of monies, which cannot be done by the governor, which cannot be done by the senator, because they are not within their mandate. There are specific roles which are very critical to these particular issues. The same thing to the MCA. And that's why I'm saying that we are suffering. The road to my home is now impassable, because I don't have an MCA to question and ask. You can't find the governor to ask him. Senator is all over. He says that is not my role. So there are specific core things which are really entangled with these particular representatives, which they have to be in place to be able to fight. And then you need to have somebody to question. In case they fail, you have somebody to blame so that they go out of office. Now, in this event, if something is not working, then you have nobody to ask or to blame. So that is the kind of thing we are talking about, and we cannot wish it away that we have an amalgam of leaders. Kenyans are very evasive, especially when it comes to leadership. They will always run and say, that's not my docket.
We have been in this country for some time, and Engineer, is this position a poisoned kind of position? We've had, in all the commissions we have in the country, IBC has, we have IBC, we had the Kivuitu Commission, I'm forgetting the name, but every electoral cycle, the Electoral Commission is the most fought or contested commission in this country. Yes, we have so many commissions, but why is it that the Electoral Commission is the most fought after?
You know, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission is the most important organ in terms of determining who is the sole custodian of power in this country after every 5 years. And when you have this power over the reins of this country,
yes,
you control not just this country, but even the region and everybody who wants to do business in Kenya and in the region. So you can imagine being the president of Kenya, and the only one organ that can deny you that opportunity is this one, IEBC. So whoever is in power today knows very well, the more I delay this organ, the better for me. And if I create it at the last minute in a way that it will conveniently be disorganized and sneak me through to power, it's the best thing I can do. Because all the successful elections that we've had, IEBC
I'm still stuck at conveniently disorganized.
All the successful elections we've had,
yes,
IEBC has arrived there late, disorganized.
They don't have kitty.
They don't have money, or the money is too much. They don't even know how to handle it. You get it, eh? So we need to understand that it is not about the IEBC, it's about the presidency and the power it brings. So whoever is in power or wants to seek power will want a disorganized IEBC, and when it is organized, it is not able to deliver a good job. So let us just agree. This is who we are as a candidate.
Okay. Actually, I was just looking at the Kivitu. Kivitu led the Electoral Commission. That was the ECK,
Yes.
Electoral Commission of Kenya.
Yeah.
And then we had the Isaac Hassan. Isaac Hassan also was rounded out of office. Then we also had, you know, the last IBC commissioners. I mean, you've talked about how critical this commission is, but then now we are also looking at a position where every Kenyan is supposed to be represented. The commissioners must be in office, and there is a lacuna in that constitution, whether it's by default or not. Wakili, this one goes back to you people now, and whether parliamentarians will be ready to fix that lacuna in the constitution, because perhaps you said, okay, I don't want to go back there. But, Doctor, look at it this way, as we finalize on this topic. So what happens in 2027? We don't have IBC right now. Either it will be reconstituted sometimes next year. They start talking about, you know, delimitation of boundary, which is way, way past. We don't have that. They want to do by elections, you know, there's no funds. They need to do civic education. They need to do all manner of things. So what will happen?
You know, even what is happening right now, there's no problem in appointing the commissioners.
Yeah.
But like engineer said, the conveniency of their absence still has to prevail. And if this country, what I think I've been in Kenya for more than 40 years now, being a citizen. If they want to do anything, see how fast the deputy president was ousted. Everything is possible in this country. Trust you me, within a week, you can have all the commissioners on board and everything on board and working. So when they unlock the conveniency, everything will fall in place. I don't think we have any reason to worry. The only thing we need to worry about is for how long is the convenience supposed to work. So when that expiry time comes, doesn't matter when, it can be 6 months to election of 2027, but everything will be in place. Just be sure that we're not going to have any gaps. We're not going to have any gaps, because this is a strategic move. So when they unlock the stalemate or the convenience, things are going to fall back in place, and we are going to go to an election like nothing happened.
Okay. All right. So I'm reminded that I should take you through the front page of the other two remaining papers. On the front page of the Standard, ODM in Ruto dilemma. ODM in Ruto dilemma. That is also the front page of the Standard newspaper. Okay. And it says that officials of opposition party are split on whether to back President William Ruto or field a candidate in the next election, while Raila Odinga has said the party will field a candidate, or candidates for that matter. Some feel that it would be a better gamble to back the current government and wait for another 5 years? Evelyn, Dr.
You know what I've realized in the political atmosphere?
Yes.
What I've learned, politicians work better under pressure. You know, these things do not just work like that. That I've joined you now, we are in broad-based, now we are sailing through. You have to be put in a catch-22 for you to think straight politically. You know, thinking straight politically means making hard decisions. Like, you know, the PSS have, they have been advertised. Yeah. And I think the ODM, strategically, they are rather, we are playing our part well. Because, you know, it's not easy. You're in government, you're moving me in government as a subsidiary. That is not going to happen. And like, don't go to the bedroom and sleep. You got to do something about it. I think what the ODM, what the idea is, ideally they are playing their role very well. And I'd like to congratulate them to make those decisions because it's not easy. You know, for you to get representation for your region, you must come up with, you have to put somebody under pressure. Politicians don't work better when put under pressure, under some kind of pressure. And the decision they make through Baba, I think that is what will prevail. Because apparently, you know, ODM is also a very big party. Yeah. That runs across board. I think it's only minimal in Mount Kenya, and I think that's in order. They make that decision.
It's both hot and cold, politically speaking, because
it's hot and cold.
Yes, last week
nobody is supposed to sleep. Nobody is supposed to sit there and imagine things are happening. Checks and balances.
When also what happened last week, the president has visited Kisumu now several times, including last week when he was in Kondele, and he was giving that, you know, that heroic welcome. And a few days later, you know, Raila Odinga says that no, ODM is going to field a candidate. So this is how politics is played.
Yeah, that's how it's played.
Wakili, we look at the reception in Kondele, and the president had a very good time in Kisumu, and then the neighboring county of Vihiga, Raila says, you know what? No, 27, we are here. So
I think
it's confusing. Yes,
Raila has been put in a proper catch-22 position where he's been pushed to African Union Commission. Then suddenly his party is pushed into the government. Suddenly his party luminaries are making very friendly decisions on behalf of government. He's losing his mainstay, which is being the opposition leader. We are 2 years down the election. He's not sure about African Union. He's going to win. If he doesn't win, what is he coming back to? Is he coming back as a prime minister of the Kenya Kwanza government or not? Or is coming as an opposition leader? Because he cannot just sit there with Mudavadi being senior than him, having lost the African Union chairmanship. So there is a lot of inboxing and marshalling here and there. And that's why he's saying, wait a minute, we are not yet in government, because he has not been given proper guarantees that in the event I lose the African Union seat, I am not coming here to be in a matatu. I am coming back to be somewhere in government, and I need that position well secured. If it means removing Mudavadi and putting me there, we work together so that we can prepare ourselves for 2027, the better. For me, I see a possibility of Ruto Raila candidature 2027 if he doesn't go for the AU, or somebody nominated by Raila being part of that coalition. But obviously Raila cannot be seated.
Can never be second fiddle.
Cannot be seated out there doing nothing.
So now what happens? Wakili, because look at it this way. ODM will field a candidate in 2027. We don't know who. But they're also in government.
Yeah, you see, this is a marriage of convenience until it's concretized. And that is, I think, where Raila is coming from and saying, wait, we are not out of this game yet. We still have the ball, and we are playing. We're players. So that is what he's trying to say. But as they always say, a day in politics is too long. So we can sit and wait and see. I'm seeing a scenario whereby, as our Timber is saying, we might have either ODM and the UDA working closely to secure, because now, of course, the Mount Kenya is becoming very shaky for the president. He needs to create a new Amovas party we might see ODM and joining and forming a new party or a coalition. And this coalition will be able to lead us to 2027. But then you cannot be able to negotiate from inside as if you're inside yet you're outside. So what he's saying, we have not had that discussion.
This is confusing.
Yes, we cannot be able to start making decisions for 2027. We're in 2024, and we are not fully in government.
Yes.
So we need to see that agreement, know what exactly our share of government is, and then we can make that decision for 2027 when the time is convenient. So he's trying to tell the president, take it slow, take it slow. It's my region still. I'm in control, and I cannot come back and use a matatu as an interesting statement by here. That, you know, using a matatu is akin to what we saw the CS for education when the docket was declared vacant. He was in a foreign trip, he came back, he had to carry his own bags, use the normal near the airport, not the VIP. You know, that is quite a shaming. That one you cannot want to be in that position. And then the cameramen are always there to take photos of you and post that, you know, here is Baba back from there, you having missed the AU seat. He's carrying his own bags, most probably.
No private
you remember the issue of Nusumkeka. There's no DC here, it's a Nusumkeka. You know, being in that position is quite shaming.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that place. So you need to fight when you have the energy. You need to call your shots while you have you're in a position to call the shots, so that you can be able to concretize your without, you see how Rigiji is now complaining that now we did not go into government, it was based on trust, and we didn't have anything written. Now we are looking like orphans. So at no point are we going to be as Mount Kenya going to sign and going to support somebody without an agreement.
Okay.
So that is very key, because it will be able to safeguard you, and even you can use it and say, he has betrayed what we signed.
I have 3 minutes. And do me a favor, I want to ask this question. When Mbadi said, and I quote, that Ruto and the entire Rift Valley supported us in 2007, it is only fair for us to support him as a community in the next general election. Dr. How would you analyze that statement?
According to me, is an indicator that they intend to back the president.
And should the president take that statement
to the bank?
Exactly. And lock it.
It's blowing both hot and cold. And you know, a day in politics is quite long. You know, people issue statements to confuse you sometimes. So when you're thinking along those lines, you know, like somebody can issue, I'm not saying but it does not mean it, but I can test the waters by making some remarks. I see your reaction, and then from there I'll make my other decision that I actually meant to make. So I wouldn't say that it is reliable or not reliable. I would like to leave it at that and not draw any conclusions, because we have almost like 2.5 to 3 years to an election, and so much is bound to happen. So I don't think I'll be in a better place to make a decision based on his statement. Yeah. He's
former chair of ODM. Wakili, when you hear Mbadi say that, and he said that in Kisumu, it's confusing. And as I said, do you think the president should just take that statement and take it to the bank and lock it there?
No, you won't. I think
I
would rather go with the statement of Raila that they will be fielding a candidate. That is more credible than what Mbadi is saying, because I don't think it's in Mbadi's position to issue such statement for the party, because the party seems to have its owners and is not the owner. So that's where I'd rather go with the statement of Raila than have the president rely on that statement. You know, in politics, people give statements which are catching, so that you appease your guests, so that you make them feel comfortable, so that the crowd actually ululates, and then he feels like I'm home, so that you don't want to upset your opponent, especially when you are sitting at the table with them. So that is, I think, what I can relate the statement to. But the political span and strategies are going to be actually be crafted as time goes by.
And now, Crispus, when you look at how things are unfolding, somebody will say, you know, the president has left Mount Kenya, etc., etc. But how do you think the rest of the parties or other regions who overwhelmingly voted for the president would receive this message, include the president himself?
You see, one thing that we need to appreciate is that whatever Bandi says should not be taken lightly. Weeks before the finance bill was shut down, Bandi was very critical of the finance bill proposal. Then weeks after the Gen Z protest, he was seen somewhere in Luo Nyanza saying we should join government to assist this government in restoring some sense of sanity. And that statement, people did not take it serious. And I think a month later, he was in cabinet, not being nominated as a Treasury CS.
Yes.
Now, when he says that we need to return a favor to Ruto for helping us in 2007, I don't think people should take that statement lightly. It's a clear indication, come 2027, that the forces that we are going to see will be an alliance between Ruto and Raila. Whether Raila will be in the ticket or it will be Anyang' Nyong'o in the ticket and Ruto or any other person nominated by ODM, that will be the question at that point. But the alliance between ODM and UDA is just a matter of time.
Okay.
Whether in that alliance there will be space for ANC, for the Kenya and other parties, they'll have to negotiate their way into it because ODM comes with over 85 seats of MPs at this moment. How many does ANC or Ford Kenya have at the moment, or the Power Party? So therefore, ODM and the UDA are a more formidable force. And the person they will now against now who? So that's the question now. Gachagua and the others in the Mount Kenya region need to start organizing themselves so that come 2027, it will be ODM, UDA versus them. Okay. So that them is what we need to understand. And most likely it will be
I wish I had enough time. I would have asked.
Yes.
Let me say
They'll vote for themselves.
Let me say this just as a way of closing.
In 10 seconds,
we have seen the government largely being the eastern part, that is from Nakuru this side. Now I think we are likely to see a position where government largely belongs to the western part, the Rift Valley and to the other side. So that is the equation which is being crafted, I suspect, so that we can be able to test the waters and see how that serves Kenyans.
Nothing just happens. It's well crafted.
It's well crafted, yeah.
Dr. Evelyn Ogendo, thank you so much for coming on the show. Always, she was earlier than the boys. Quote unquote. Okay, Gibson Gisore, thank you so much for coming to the show as well. He's also political governance. He wears many hats that I want to talk about right now. Crispus Othimba, an engineer by profession and a governance expert. Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, for coming to the show, and then you for watching Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Lowe. Oh, sorry, on the front page of the Daily Nation. For the sake of fairness, MPs bid to block job cuts in civil service. That is what I have on the front page of the Daily Nation. It states that public servants at the national and county level whose positions are abolished will be shielded from losing their jobs under a proposed law. And so if the Public Service Human Resource Management Bill 2024 currently before the National Assembly becomes law in the current form, then employees whose positions become redundant will be redeployed. Okay.